right, everyone, welcome to the Canadian Country Music Podcast. If you are listening live on YouTube, hello. Can't wait to chat with you guys. If you are listening in, welcome. I am your host, Tim Albertson, Canadian country music artist and lover. And today on the podcast, we have the lovely and talented and LMS Records latest edition, Christina Rogers. Christina, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for thinking that I'm cool enough to talk to.
Well, you are, and this is literally the reason why. So, me and you just met like I don't know 2-3 weeks ago on the In the Country with Dave Woods. I was lucky enough to get on there. It was a highlight of my career, one of them, and I got to see you. And what I didn't realize while we were sitting there chit chatting and we're all playing is that I didn't realize that you had the number one single on the Canadian Indie Country Countdown, and that song Whiskey Hangover. Literally. So okay, a little further backstory. My song came out.
Take it back.
Yeah, my song came out a week after your song came out on the Canadian Indie Country Countdown. And if anybody doesn't realize, so how they work it is that you basically move up week by week until you get to top to 12 weeks, and at the 12-week standard then you start to drop off of there because that allows other artists to come up. The interesting thing is that by the week 12, everybody that was on your week you really know very, very well, because they are basically keeping very close tabs on you, which was Whiskey Hangover. So I'm sitting there listening, and if Whiskey Hangover came on, I either missed my song already or it was coming straight up. It was one of those things where we were just like back and forth all the way up to the top. You made it to number one the week after I made it to number 6.
Ooh,
so yeah,
good. That's awesome, man.
I had just started to drop down on the playlist as you hit your number one. So congratulations for that. I hit number one before, and I know how much it meant for me. Like I was able to use that as a promotional tool to kind of move my way out there. The name alone, Canadian Indie Country Countdown, actually packs a punch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was like such an indescribable feeling. Like I would wake up every Saturday morning and I'd be like, okay, when's it gonna be on? When's it gonna be on? And I would like listen to all the songs, and like, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I was exposed to a lot of artists I'd never heard of before, and I was just like, every week I'd be like, okay, this is where I was last week, and all right, let's see how high it gets. And then I would think, oh, let's just go up 2 spots, and then 2 songs later, I still hadn't heard my song. I was like, oh my god, what is happening? And then the weekend that it was that it went to number one, it was myself and Shelley Lynch. We were the only ones that were like even potentially going to make it to number one. And then it got to the number 2 song. I was like, okay, I'm cool with it if I hear my song at number 2, because that was my 12th week, right? I was it's okay. Like, that's amazing. I'm on a countdown. It's my first time out. That's incredible. Shelley's an amazing artist. She's a seasoned veteran. She knows what she's doing. And then I heard her song start, and I was like, OMG. Like, I actually can't say the words that I actually said, because it's probably a family-friendly show, so I can't say what I actually said. But I just like burst into tears and was like, "This is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me." It's just, I was riding that high for the whole weekend.
I felt the exact same way. Me and the girlfriend were sitting there, and it's like number 3 comes on. You're like, okay, here it comes. Like 1 or 2, baby, 1 or 2, and then number 2 comes on, and it's not your song, and you're like, no, your heart's like no way. Yeah,
like your heart pounds in your chest, and then like you don't hear your song, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm still in it, this is awesome. And then your heart beats even faster by the end of that song. Am I next? And then you're not next. You're like, oh, this is it. Cool feeling.
It is a very cool feeling. So that's my short little tidbit on how we met. But for people who don't know you, Christina, can you give a brief little bio about your music career? I know you started back when you were 8 years old, so let's start back there.
I feel like this will not be brief, my friend. Okay, so when I was like 8.5 years old, my mom was volunteering in our small little community. There was a hockey telethon on our local cable station. And, people would call in and they'd be like, yeah, let's just pledge $10. The kids, the hockey players get to come on and read the pledges or whatever. It's like a super cool thing. So anyways, my mom was volunteering. She's like making sandwiches in the kitchen for all the other volunteers and the band that was going to be performing that night and everything. And I was entertaining her and her friends that were making these sandwiches along this old school, like yellow ghetto blaster that we had in the kitchen. And Reba McEntire songs were playing, and I was just singing my little heart out. Probably was not very good at all, but apparently the band that was playing that night, they thought I was kind of cute. They were like, "Oh, this is so cute. Let's put her on the stage." And I don't really think that people realized that I also didn't know what I was doing. I was just having a good time. Like I wasn't the kid that was going to freeze on the stage. I was like bopping my head back and forth. That's pretty much all I did. There's a video on my Instagram. Yeah, there's a video on my Instagram page that's like super embarrassing, but it's like literally the first time I was ever on stage and singing by myself with a band. And it was just, I didn't really realize what I was doing. I really didn't. And that's kind of what started everything. And then from there, people were literally calling into the telephone number going, "Hey, can we ask her to come perform at our event?" Like this literally happened. So
That's
my
wicked.
parents like they would drive me all across New Brunswick for like years and years and years, like from age 8 until I was able to drive myself. And then they still drove me anyway because my parents are amazing. So yeah, it was a good time.
That's incredible. Wow. So what drew you to the country music? I heard like you were singing Reba McEntire back there. Was it just like, was that the station that was on? Was that the music that was playing around your family, or?
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. Like my dad, he was always renovating our house when I was growing up, always building new things, tearing down walls, building new things. And we had this 5 CD changer. And every morning at 8 a.m., he would put like his 5 favorite CDs. And they were things like from the 80s, like Sheena Easton and Heart. And then there was 3 Celine Dion CDs that played a lot. That's real manly music, right? Like the color up and up while you're painting, right?
We all have them in those moments when we're driving in our truck alone and we're on a very, very, very secluded, dark country road. Yeah, Celine Dion is blasted for us.
Right. And I never loved the 80s tunes he was playing, but when he put like a Reba McEntire CD in that, I would spring out of bed and I would go out and I'd be singing along. And
here's don't let me down.
And obviously, like a 9-year-old kid did not understand that song at all, as they should not. But I love that song. I used to belt that one out all the time. But "Take It Back" was the very first song I ever sang on stage. That was big. And I remember the video. She was wearing this like green satin shirt in a courtroom, and her hair was all. And when she whipped that bobby pin out of her hair and like whipped her hair around, I was like, yeah, I want to be Reba McEntire. That was. She was kind of my hero for a little bit.
That makes sense.
Oh yeah, and then Shania Twain came on the scene when I was in grade 6 or 7, and I mean the jean vest did it for me. I needed to have the jean vest, and I mean if you're a country singer now, like a female country singer, if you didn't have the jean vest, you have no business being on the stage calling yourself a country singer.
I kind of sort of feel like that's one of those things that has to be checkmarked.
I love that. But yeah, I mean those are kind of musical influences that really started it off for me, and then once I got into Shania Twain, that kind of opened up doors to other amazing female artists. And then I was like super into Martina McBride.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I would stand in my kitchen and I would sing and like try to teach myself how to sing those high notes and how to project like she does. And I mean, I probably tortured my mother to death because I mean, it was probably not very good when I was first learning how to do it. But yeah, so I was big into Martina, and then Leanne Rimes hit the scene. And I was like, holy cow, she's my age and look what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that too. And I just kind of became obsessed with her. So.
You know what? Kind of sort of thinking back right now, I'm like, Adam Gregory hit the scene around my time and I was really into that. And like even Billy Gilman, like he came out when I was a little man. Yeah, like little Billy Gilman came out and I was like, wow, like there's literally like a 10-year-old sitting here and he's at the top of the charts. Like, all right, maybe there is a little spot here for little Timmy back when he was younger.
Right, like the first time I went to Nashville, I was 16 years old and going down Music Row, and there was a bus bench, and Billy Gilman's face was on this bus bench, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing! Like, I want to be on a bus bench. And I mean, for a couple $1,000, I could put myself on one now.
Hey, there you go.
It's like I could do that if I wanted to, but I'd rather have someone else pay for it.
Yeah, if somebody else could just pitch in for that.
Right.
So, all right. So there's also something else that me and you have in common is that we have both had the opportunity to open up for Mr. Aaron Porche.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. It was small little hole in the wall bar. It was just when he first started. It was just before Hold My Beer came out. And I just did like a little acoustic thing, couple songs at the bar before he went on. It was only an acoustic show that he did.
Yeah.
So, and that's actually ironically where I met Jason Barry, amazing producer. Yeah. So I met him way back then, and then never saw him again after that. But our paths reconnected again when I got back into the music scene. But yeah, it's just crazy how that all comes full circle. But yeah, I did a couple songs to open a show for him, and never actually met him though. So I don't know. I met the guitar player, met Jason, but I did not meet Aaron. So
Well, I can tell you that Aaron is 100% an amazing gentleman. He is great to hang out with, and we didn't get to party, but I can genuinely tell you that if you were to have a beer with this gentleman, like, he is amazing. He was here in Thunder Bay with Kira, Isabella, and David James out on the town tour. Yeah. Yeah, so I got the opportunity to open up for him, and yeah, actually, little tidbit, I actually got to open up for his son because he was the guitarist in Faber Drive way back when. So yeah, I've opened up for like a half of the Porche family.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So Christina, you were saying that you wanted to sing like Reba and you wanted to belt out like Martina McBride. Did you study music or did you have any vocal training at all?
No, my only vocal training, I was 3 years old, and my dad had taped a Tina Turner concert off TV, and 3-year-old me figured out how to use the VCR, and I would always push play and rewind, play and rewind, and I would sing like "What's Love Got to Do with It" up and down the hallway. I would ride my tricycle up and down the hallway and screaming out "What's Love Got to Do with It." And it was really bad. Like, I'm not even joking. The neighbors actually came over and they knocked on the door and they're like, yeah, I feel like, can you like ask her like not to sing, or maybe just like close your windows because we don't want to listen to that anymore. It's really bad. But
you were one more belt away from CAS right now.
Right. So this is where, like, God bless my mother. She pretty much told my neighbors to pound sand in a very nice way. She's like, no, she wants to sing. She's going to sing. But then when we were in the house, she was like, sing a little more quietly. But I mean,
sing in the basement.
She didn't take that from us. She's like, no, she's going to sing. And she encouraged me to keep singing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing. So at a young age, you were also on Global TV's The One.
Yeah. Okay.
And you made the top 20. And to be honest with you, when I read this info about you, I'm more than positive I can recall that.
Do you recall me bawling my eyes out on national TV when I got kicked off?
You know what? That might be it. That might be it.
Well, okay, so there were 3 seasons of it, and the first one was an all-girl group season, and that was, Sugar Jones was the name of the group that came out of that. Wow. Yeah, this is old. Like, I'm really dating myself here. And then the second season was a boy-girl group, and Velvet Empire was the name of them. And the third season was the solo one, so it was Pop Stars The One. Mm-hmm. And tried out for that in the town in New Brunswick, and managed to make the top 5 out of New Brunswick, and then went to Toronto and got kicked off the first day. But it's a story that goes with this. Okay, it's always a story.
Yes.
So to this day, I am friends with the winner of that. I never saw her again after the day I left that show. And then like 10 years later at my university, it's the first day of my education degree. And I look across the room, I'm like, I know that girl. I know that girl. And then I catch her staring at me, and she's giving me that same look like, I know you. Mm-hmm. And then finally we talked to each other. We're like, oh my God, this is wild. So she told me the whole story of what happened after. And I guess the company went bankrupt, and she never ended up getting her record contract or anything like that as the deal. It gets even more shady than that. So the girl, like the day I got kicked off with this other girl, and she and I were roommates in the hotel. Mm-hmm. And we started putting the pieces together, is that everybody who got kicked off was in the same hotel room. So they were kicking off roommates to save money on hotels. Like, isn't that wild?
Oh my goodness.
And I remember we had a sponsor. It was Pizza Pops, but they were those little pizza squares, like Zappets or something like that. And I remember them filming us. We were like stuffing our faces with these. And a guy that got kicked off the same day as me, he went crazy because he got kicked off. And he took the tray, and he threw the tray at the mirror, and he's like, F you guys, and F you guys, and F Pizza Pops. And the Pizza Pops was flying everywhere. It was just the craziest thing. Like, I've never experienced anything quite like that in my life. I will never forget that.
All right. So needless to say, I'm not assuming that is where you got your TV bug.
No. finest moment, not my best experience. Because that was me. I remember I have the DVD of it because you could buy the DVD of the episodes, and it was like a compilation of it, so the full thing. But like literally, the feature of me on the episode is me walking over there and going, no, and like bawling my eyes.
That's it.
18 years old. I was 18, and it's so embarrassing. So embarrassing.
No.
But I still tell everybody because it's funny. Like, if you can't laugh at yourself, then why are you here, right?
Hey, you still made national TV.
I didn't get shined in my finest light, but yes, I was there.
And you didn't get first and get screwed.
That's true, right? So it didn't work out for her either, so I guess it's all right.
There you go. So where is it that you caught the screen bug? Because you ended up going out to do Rogers TV, and you were host of a few.
I've done a lot of things in my life, like a lot of things. So I guess it kind of started when I went to Nashville when I was 16 and did a demo down there. And then, radio was obviously very different 20 years ago, very, very different. And we just kind of called the radio station. We're like, hey, she's got a demo tape. Would you mind playing it? And they were like, yeah, sure, whatever. So they threw it on the air, and everybody locally just like really, really loved it. And from there, it kind of turned into that program director asking me if I would like a job working weekends. So I was like, yeah, sure, cool, man. So I mean, this was a couple of years later, mind you, because I was like 16, 17 at the time they were playing my song. So I was like 19 years old. And so he's like, would you like a job working weekends on our station? Yeah, sure, man, that'd be cool, whatever. University student, I could use some money.
No doubt.
So I did that. And then 6 months into that, I got called into the boss's office. I'm like, oh God, I have no training for this. I'm fired. Like, I was obviously really bad at this. And he's like, so our morning girl, she's having a baby and we need someone to replace her. Would you like her job? Does a one-legged duck swim in a circle? Of course, I'd like her job. So I did that for a full year. I co-hosted the morning show, and we were the #1 morning show in our demographic, like every single year. So, my co-host was phenomenal. He drove the bus every day. He was in charge. I was just there to offer my commentary, and I
was just hanging on to the back bumper and go, wee-hee!
Right? Pretty much what I did. But so I did that. And then after she came back, I went back to weekends and I still did that. And then a year later, I get called into the office again. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Like I've done something really bad now because I'm always pushing envelopes, right? It's not what I do. So he's like, so surprised, she's having another baby. Would you like to do that year again? Yes, I would. So did that. And that's kind of where I got my radio bug. Like I loved working in radio so much. It was so much fun. And kind of when I finished up there, I was still working there at the time. I kind of got into our local Rogers TV station. There was a sports talk show on TV, and the guy that was doing it was leaving, and I kind of heard about that through the grapevine. So I had nothing to lose. I walked right into the building, and I was like, "Hey, can I speak to the person in charge of your TV shows?" And they're like, yeah, I guess. So they brought her to me. And I was like, so I hear that dude is leaving. Can I have his job? And she just kind of looked at you like, pardon me? Like, so I was like, yeah, I would really, really like to have his job. And she's like, okay. So she had a little look at my resume and she's like, yeah, that's great. So I hosted that for a year. Wow. That was full time. I worked in the QMJHL for a couple of seasons doing in-game hosting for the St. John Sea Dogs. So that was a cool time too. And I guess that's kind of what got me into the sports thing. And then from that sports talk show, I ended up turning into a sports reporter. And I went around the province and covered junior A hockey, the Q League, university hockey, and good time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All while going to university. I was a very tired person, but
now, are there any aspects from like the music and radio that you incorporated into the music business yourself?
Like I say, it's so different now than it was 20 years ago, right? I mean, learning what I've learned in the last like 2 years, even, I'm like, whoa, that's not at all how I remember that happening. So I think that just performance-wise, like when you're doing radio, nobody can see you, right? So
that's why I do a podcast.
As you can see, I'm doing this with like no, right? On radio, no one's seeing that. So it's kind of a drawing your people in with the words that you choose and the way that you express them. So I guess that goes into your music as well, and your delivery of a song, right? So I guess they kind of go hand in hand. And again, hand talking, doing it again. Stop sign language. I don't know how to do that, but
that's all right. What's the craziest interview you ever did?
Ooh, I got. You mean like sports wise, or do you mean like music wise?
Okay. You know what? Now that you've brought it out there, I want one from each. So the craziest sports interview you ever did, or the funniest, like the most memorable, and then the most memorable music one.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think a cool one, because they were really cool at the time before he did really bad things. Headley was into our station, and yeah, I know, right? Like, it was a really cool interview because, like, at the time they were like the super hottest band that was out there. They were topping the charts, but it was really cool. I got to hang out with them for a day.
Sport?
Yeah, so that was a crazy fun interview. That was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the ultimate sports interview I ever did was Willie O'Ree, the first black player in the NHL. That was the coolest interview I did, because he's from my hometown of Fredericton, New Brunswick. So he happened to be in the building one night when we were doing a hockey game, and I got to talk to him, and he shared like the coolest things. And then, but this is the ultimate coolest one of life. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
So, like in the early 2000s, I went to Toronto, and there was a huge poster of Ron McLean on the side of the CBC building. And I was like, and this was when I was in the height of my sports career, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to interview that man. Like, he is the classiest man on television. Like, he knows his stuff. He's so pro, and he's amazing, right?
He is.
I mean, to host with Don Cherry and to be able to like deflect,
to keep him in the reins. Like, ain't nobody be able to keep Don Cherry on a leash, but Ron McLean could.
Right? It's like huge respect for Ron McLean. And he was coming to Grand Prairie a couple of years, 4 or 5 years ago now. He came to Grand Prairie, where I now live. And he was coming with the hometown hockey. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so I found out about it, and I was like, this is like prime opportunity. So I did some Googling and found out who his people were, and I emailed his people. And I was like, so I kind of like host a talk show every now and then, and just wondering if Ron would like to be a guest on my show. Just, shooting my shot. The worst they can say is no. And these people were always back, they're like, yeah, that'd be great. And I was like, okay, well, here's the address of our studio. They're like, no, come to us. So I got to interview Ron McLean on the set of Rogers Hometown Hockey. Like, that is coolest thing.
That is great. Did you have the live crew behind you and everything too?
Oh yeah, we had everything. It was so cool. It was so cool. That is definitely the highlight of my career for sure.
All right. So what would be your most embarrassing moment?
I don't think we have enough time. On my radio days, I've got quite a collection, but and my old co-host will occasionally send me a message, and he'll be like, "Remember that time you said this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd rather forget that." Actually, the time that I thought 100 pennies was $100, and or I don't know, something like that. It was like 5:30 in the morning. It was really early. My brain was not working. We were talking about famous dogs one morning, and we were like, Benji and Beethoven, and I shouted out, "Flipper!" And it was complete silence, and like dead air on the radio. Like, dead air on radio is bad. Like 5 seconds feels like 5 minutes, and I swear there was like 10 seconds of dead air. Oh, he's just staring at me, just sleeping. He's like, "You idiot, Flipper! It's a dolphin." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, that is incredible. Oh, yeah. I am so happy I asked that question.
I could have lied and told you I've never done anything embarrassing.
Yeah, nothing. I'm a complete 100% professional.
Nothing. I'm a fake. Never.
Okay, so after you did this for a little while, and then you took a hiatus from your music, what was it that drew you back to performing, and what was it that stopped the train going at first?
Well, I thought, like, I love music so much, and I felt this kind of getting a little stale. Like, it was the same bars all the time that we were playing, same songs over and over again. Some of the people I was playing with at the time didn't really want to learn new stuff. They were like, we just kind of want to stick to what we're doing. Like, but I wanted to get into the newer country, and that kind of wasn't their bag of tricks. And, you know, where I was from, musicians weren't like in abundance. So, you know, I played with the most talented of the talented people in town. But some were not on board with going forward in the direction I wanted to go on. So, you know, we kind of just ended that, and it was amicable. And then I was doing all my sports things and my TV things and all of that. And I thought maybe I just kind of want to do TV. Maybe that's my thing. Like, I knew I had to work in media in some way, like entertainment. I knew that I had to. But then I went and got my university degrees and started my career, and it was too much. It was just way too much. I just did not have the time to dedicate to it. So it kind of fell by the wayside. And then I moved here and I started meeting people, and I met somebody that was from New Brunswick, and they're just like, dude, why do you not do what you do anymore? Like, why are you not still singing? Why are you still not writing songs? Why are you not performing? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Should I? Like, so here I am back in it.
Fair enough. What made you move from New Brunswick to
Grand Prairie, Alberta? My job. So I have a teaching degree, and at the time,
what up, essential worker?
At the time, it was like you take a job where you can get one, because there were no jobs to be had. There just weren't to be had. So I applied for a job in Grand Prairie, and it was the first job I applied for. And the advice we were given by all of our professors was that you take the first job that you get. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in like the middle of the woods and there's no town for hours, you take the job. So I'd never heard of Grand Prairie before. All I knew was that it was in northern Alberta, and that winter is like 12 months of the year here. But I needed a job. So I took a job with the school, and like maybe like a month before school started, a job opened up in New Brunswick about an hour and a half from me, and I applied for it and I got it. So I had to like sheepishly call the school to work. So remember you hired me? I'm gonna not come. So I kind of put them in a bind, and I was like, oh, I just screwed myself for the rest of my life. This is bad. So I took the job in New Brunswick, and then I was in this small little town, small little seaside resort, lovely little town. But I'm a city girl. I needed to be where there was more than one stop sign in the town, and you didn't have to have a passport to get McDonald's. I'm not joking.
Okay, well, the passport to get McDonald's is a little interesting, but your hometown had a stop sign?
Oh, you're stopping?
No, mine didn't even have a general store growing up.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Bushtown.
Okay, well, I grew up in the city. So, I grew up in the capital of New Brunswick. So, there's that. But then this place I moved to is this small little seaside resort, and it's literally only lively in the summertime. Like, big tourist attraction. It's like the Hamptons of New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the minute that the Labor Day weekend hits, after that you can like see tumbleweeds go down the street. Like, it's bad. So it was not good for my mental health. So I had to get out of there. I called the school that I declined, and I was like, "Hey, remember me? You hired me like 2 years ago, and then I kind of like put you in a really awful position a month before school started. Any chance you got a job and you want to give it to me?" And they did. So I truly believe this is where I'm meant to be. So I work at that school. I've been there. This is my seventh year there. My seventh year there. So.
What year? What grade?
I teach grade 5 late French immersion. So they come to me at age 10 learning French for the very first time, and I got to get them up to speed in about a year. So
if they're anything like me learning French for the very first time, I feel so sorry for you.
No, it's amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Like, I get up every morning happy to go to work because I love teaching them.
I was the kid that my mom would look at me and she would give me the 3 strikes. So she'd wake me up in the morning. She'd be like, "You got to wake up." Okay, wake up. Next 5 minutes goes by. I went back to bed. She turns the light on. "You got to get up to go to school." "Okay, I'm getting up." 10 minutes goes by, and then she'd come in and she'd say, "Are you getting up or not?" "No, I don't think I'm getting up." And she'd close the door and go right back to bed. She's like, "I give up. You don't want to educate." And literally, like, yeah, I was not the best kid in school.
Oh, hey, I didn't say I enjoyed getting up, but I like going to work. Once I'm there, I love it. But getting up in the morning is tough. I'm not a morning person at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, not at all. So yeah, so here I am in Alberta.
Oh, right on. Well, congratulations. Welcome to Alberta. I have not been out there, but I know quite a few country artists from that area.
Yeah, we got a vast repertoire of amazing country artists. I mean, Calgary's like country music capital of Canada. So
Yeah.
I'm very far away from Calgary though. It's not like a hop, skip, and a jump. I'm like 8 hours from it. So
8 hours isn't all that bad. It's 8 hours from here to Winnipeg right now. So
right. Well, I think of it too because like growing up, like when we were like in our like late teens, early 20s, it was nothing to hop in the car and drive to Montreal, which was 8 hours. It was nothing to drive to Boston, which was 8 hours. And I'm like, I'm not driving 8 hours to Calgary.
Are you kidding me? All right. Well, we have a little bit of a congratulations thing to give out today. As of a couple of days ago, you are LMS record label's newest addition.
Yes! Oh my gosh, it was so exciting for me.
How did that come about?
I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around it. I'm sure you get this all the time. You get so many random Facebook friend requests.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. And I always say yes to them, especially if we have like 70 friends in common and they're all music people, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to run into you at some point, or we have mutual friends, like, you know, it's sounds cool to make new contacts. So this wonderful dude named Michael, he added me to Facebook and never messaged me, never said anything to me, and months go by, and he randomly liked one of my music posts one time, and I didn't really think anything of it. A couple more months went by, and I had just posted an original song that I had written, and I get a message from a lady named Julie Massey. And she was like, hey, I really love that song. I would love to have a chat with you because I co-own a new record label, LMS Records.
I know, it's a tongue twister. I have to read it every single time I do it.
Right? So she's like, we'd love to have a chat with you. And I'm like, is this a prank? Like, what is happening here? And she's like, no, like, for real. And I was like, oh, okay. So we schedule a phone call with her and Mike. And I had like prepped for this like it was going to be a job interview. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I like had notes in front of me of things that I wanted to tell them just in case they asked these questions. And they asked questions and I answered them. And apparently I gave all the right answers. So they're like, we would love to work with you. Really? Okay. So
that's amazing.
That. Yeah, it's crazy how that happens because like, I don't have 1 million followers on Instagram. Like I don't even have 1,000 followers on Instagram. Like, you know, I might get like 10 likes for my posts. Like it is what it is. And like people who are doing the exact same things as me are going to like thousands of followers and thousands of likes. And I mean, I know comparison is the thief of joy. It really is. So I had to stop doing that. I had to stop being like, why are they? I'm doing the same things they are. Why is this happening for them and not for me? But I mean, the moral of the story is you never know who's watching. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. And that's with anything in life, really. Unless money, quantity is important with money. But in terms of people and things on social media, it's the quality of what you got and rather than how many.
And that's something that I'm also trying to learn now too, because I mean, if we go into the depths of it, a bar like this, I kind of sort of was expecting it to be a little bit of a more successful song than it did in terms of its streamings and whatnot. And I was looking around and I'm like, man, like all these streams, like people that are just starting out are hitting 10,000 streams or hitting 20,000 streams, and it's just like, how? And I sat there and I chatted with my publicist about it, and I was like, what are we doing that they're not? What are we not doing that they are, that somehow everything's working? And he's like, no, it's just sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. He's like,
luck of the draw.
Yeah, but from this, I mean, I've gotten contacts from this song from various areas, so it's worked in different ways. So I'm trying to focus my energy not on the things that haven't happened, but more on the things that have happened.
That's the thing, right? Like, I don't know. when I was first learning, I was like watching all of these successful artists, like what are they doing? And I was kind of like modeling what I was doing after what they were doing. And I was
very much similar here.
Not having the same successes as they were having. But I mean, it was a learning process for me because, like I mentioned before, so much has changed since I was in the game the first time. I have to relearn everything and learn new things on top of that. So it's definitely been a learning curve. But I mean, you just keep plugging away at it. Like, just because only one person likes your video or likes your post or whatever, you still got to keep posting those things. Like, don't get discouraged. And I think for me, I went through a period where I did not feel like I was talented or that I was worthy or that anyone would ever care about my music. And I was like embarrassed to actually share like my art, right? And it took me a very long time. Like, I had many chats, many therapy sessions about this. And, you know, hey, going to a therapist is healthy. If you like, I'm a big advocate for mental health. And I think that everybody should go see a therapist at least once in their life. But I mean, we've had chats about it. And she would say to me, she's like, okay, but you're doing the exact same things. You're getting the same recognition that these people are getting. Like, why don't you think that you're talented? And it's a hard thing to say about yourself. Like, yes, I'm talented. It's hard to say that because you should be more humble about it, right?
Yeah.
But, right? Like, I'm so awkward when people give me compliments. People are like, "Oh my gosh, like you sang that so beautifully." I'm like, "Happy Easter!" Like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm so awkward.
Tough.
Right?
Yeah.
So
It's not you. It's literally me. I'm not trying to be this person. It is just literally what comes out of my mouth.
Right. And then when you get like so many consecutive compliments and you just think, oh, thank you. Like, I feel like I'm being like not genuine anymore because I've just said thank you so many times. But like, what else can you say when someone gives you a compliment, right? Thank you. That's the appropriate response. But,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh. So not only this, you are also getting into the songwritings, I see. You have quite a few little songwriting sessions set up. When did you decide that you wanted to branch out and start working with others?
Well, so like my whole life, I have written songs. It was fifth grade when I started. I still have all of my diaries from grade 5, and they are full.
Do you use them for inspiration?
I look back at them and I like laugh so hard at the things I've written. Like, do you ever listen to that podcast or watch that show or YouTube videos about the Mortified Diaries where like grown adults stand up and read their diaries?
Yeah.
Mine are way more embarrassing than that. Way more. But that was how I always dealt with my feelings and things that I was going through. Like, I remember writing this like poem song about this girl, and it was in grade 6. And maybe I shouldn't tell that story. But
we're too deep into it now, Christina.
We're too deep. I got to tell you the rest of it. So this girl, like, I was bullied really badly in elementary school, like really, really badly. And I would write about these girls in my diary about, like, you know, they're so much prettier than me. Why can't I be as pretty as them, or as talented as them, or as smart as them, or like, all these things, like always comparing myself. Okay, dog, that's quite enough. I'm sorry, my dog is barking.
Even she doesn't want you to tell it.
Yeah. So in any case, there was a couple of lines that I had written about it because everybody loved this girl, like loved her. And like, she was not a nice person. She was not nice. And for grade 6, she was well developed, we will say.
Fair enough, yep.
I remember writing this line, and I was like, someday it's going to expose you. Someday people will expose you for who you really are. But what I really want to know is where you get the watermelons you put in your bra, because aren't they out of season? That is the line. I started writing a song about the girl, and that was the chorus of the song.
That is awesome.
Right? Like, those are the things I write about. And you just write what's on your heart, right? And I mean, 12-year-old me, that's what I thought about that girl. Yeah, I can't believe I told you that story. God, who let me on your podcast?
Hey, this is exactly why I wanted you on the podcast.
I have no filter. It gets me in trouble all the time.
That's all right. This podcast has no filter either. If it slips, it slips. We're all human.
Right. So I mean, from there, I just kept writing things, and I would always write little paragraphs or start to write things and not finish them. And then when I was 19 years old, I had my very first heartbreak. Like it was my first serious relationship and it crushed me. And I remember like bawling hysterically. And my mom asked me, "What can I do? How can I help you?" And I was like, take me to the music store. Why? I'm like, "I want to buy a guitar." She's like, "That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but okay, get in the car, let's go." So we got there, and obviously guitars are very expensive. I did not know that, but there was one that was hanging in the window. I still have it to this day. It's right over there in the corner. But it was hanging in the window, and it had a price sticker on it. And because that had been hanging in the window, it had faded the guitar everywhere except for that sun-shaped sticker. So when he got it down from the window for me, because it was the cheapest one I had, I was like, "I'm gonna get that one." Took the sticker off. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize this had happened with the guitar." I was like, "No, I still want it. That's cool." And he's like, "Well, I'll give you a discount on it." So I think I paid like maybe $120 for this Segovia guitar. And right, like everybody I say that name to, they're like, "Oh, you own one of those?" Like it's a jazz guitar. And everybody who's ever played it is like, "It's the most beautiful sounding guitar." I'm like, "Well, it doesn't sound beautiful when I play it because I don't know how." But so I taught myself 3 chords, and I just started writing like songs about how I was feeling using those 3 chords. So obviously they weren't very good songs, but I guess country music is just 3 chords and the truth, right?
You know it.
Right? And then I kind of taught myself some more chords, and then by then I had like 5 in my repertoire. So my songs are getting a little more complicated. Right. And then I thought that you have to have a whole bunch of chords in your song. And I would put so many in that I didn't even know how to play my songs. I could never remember how to play them. So it's just kind of a big mess. But so I've always been a lone wolf. I've always written by myself because my songwriting is my therapy. It's always like what gets me through breakups, what gets me through hard times. I don't, until like the last like year or so, I don't think I've ever written a happy song. I don't know how. So I was like, I've got to expand my songwriting skills here. And, you know, you can only do so much on your own, and you're not going to learn unless you start listening to other people. So that was kind of my goal during the pandemic. I was like, well, everybody's got downtime now, so I'll just send out messages to some people. So I ended up on Dave's show. Like, God bless Dave. He's the most amazing person. Like, shout out to Dave Woods. So amazing. Like, I'm so grateful because I just sent him a message. I'm like, "Hey, you don't know me, but I just put out this song to radio, and it's like even Sirius XM is playing it, so it can't be that bad. One of the odds would like to put me on your show." And he was like, "Yeah, sure, come on." So I went on, and I've on a few times since then. So I met Brian John Harwood on his show, and he was on as Kansas Stone the first time we were on together, and they had such a cool vibe, and I just like loved them, and I just became an instant fan. And then the second time I was on, he was on by himself. And I was really digging his chill vibe that he had going on. I was just like, I need to learn how to write songs like that. So after the show, I kind of reached out. I was like, "Can I write a song with you? Like, can we do this?" I'm totally expecting him to say no, but he's like, "No, I would love to." So
that's wicked.
Writing a song. So, and I learned so much from him, like so much in that time. It was amazing.
Oh, that's incredible. Is there certain things that draw you towards certain songwriters? Like, is there somebody out there that you would absolutely love to work with right now that you could shout out on this podcast because they're all listening?
Do you mean like famous songwriters or like
famous songwriters, non-famous? Like, I am so surprised if you actually look at a songwriters list for singles these days. Like, the songwriting list actually is quite long. There's a lot of people out there that are composing together.
Right? Like a lot of times now you'll see like 6 songwriters credited on the song.
Yeah.
And like
I was just talking to Aaron Allen last week, and he has written one with David Boy James and Brian John Hardwood and James Barker Band, and I was just like, wow. And like, this is all on one single, and I'm like, I didn't realize how like combined it is nowadays, where I guess with the luck of the internet now, you can have up to 20 people on Zoom at one time. So
it makes it a lot easier for sure. I think that like my ultimate songwriting hero would be Diane Warren. Like, epic, legendary songwriter.
Mhm.
Because like power ballads are my thing. Like I said, my dad would always listen to Celine Dion, and Diane Warren has written so many of Celine Dion's most famous songs. And so there's that. And then How Do I Live was that big one.
Oh
That
yeah.
Trisha Yearwood and Leanne
I
Rimes
don't
had the like
wanna
country versus pop model.
live without
Yeah, that's your next cover right there, Tim.
There it is. Fun little
And
fact.
Burial Bees and
Sorry, I
Soul,
don't
like,
I don't mean to cut you off on this one, but fun little fact. My very first song that I ever performed live was Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On."
no.
Yeah, and I was 7 years old at that time, so my voice was definitely not this low anymore. It was somewhere like way registered. And when I sang that song, my class that was right behind the gymnasium, I did it a cappella because I didn't know how to just have the track and not have the lyrics on it at the time. So I did it a cappella, no music, no nothing. And I walked into the class and they're all standing up on a standing ovation. They're like, "Man, you did that awesome, blah blah blah." And then like some of them were just standing up just to stand up, and they're like, "Oh man, you played really well with that track." And I was like, "That wasn't a track. That was just me singing." They're like, "That was you?" Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's where my singing bug came from. I was like, "All right, maybe I could do something like this." I was like I am today. I'm a bigger kid. I can't run fast. I'm not the most handsomest guy that I ever grew up with. But yeah, like so I was always looking for that one little thing that kind of like separated me from everybody. And when I sang that and I got that recognition, that was it. And from there it just kind of kept the ball running and running and running.
Oh,
Yeah,
dude.
but yeah, so
Oh.
there's my Celine Dion story. My very first song I ever sang was Celine Dion's "My Heart Will Go On."
But I can kind of relate to what you said about you finding that thing that separated you from everybody else. Like, I don't know if it was so much that it was what separated me from other people, but I think that it was kind of an escape for me because when I was on stage, I was Christina Rogers, the singer. Like, I was not Christina Rogers, the person. And people would look at me differently when I was on stage. And I didn't have to worry about people. This is ironic because, I mean, as artists, we're putting ourselves out there to be judged. But I wasn't worrying about the judgment from people when I was on stage because I knew I was good at what I did. And like, that sounds like not humble at all. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, absolutely.
You don't get on the stage if you don't know what you're doing, right? So
Yeah.
that was my thing. It's like, I know what I'm doing. And this is one thing that they can't tell me that I'm not good at. They can't tell me, they can't make fun of me for this. Yeah, like that was my thing. That was where I was comfortable. That was where I felt at home. I didn't feel anxiety being on the stage. It was just, this is my place. This is my happy place that I was in the zone. I didn't have to think about anything. So it was my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing for actually, to be honest with you, like almost practicing for my shows was my little comfort zone. I've never actually told the story to very many people before, but when I would practice, my family lived along the power line. So we had a little like ravine and a little gully behind our house, and in behind there was these massive culverts to allow the water to go underneath the road and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, on the massive culverts, I would stand there and I'd pretend that the culvert was the stage and that the gully was the crowd. So, and because I lived basically the only time that people come down my road is when they were hunting or fishing or camping. So very, very little vehicles would drive down the road. And literally I would stand there and that would be my stage and I'd pretend like everybody's there and I'm singing on stage. So that is where my little like that was my time. And I don't know if my mom ever saw me do that out the back window or not. If anybody drove down the road, I would just pretend like I was walking and just be like, and just wait till the vehicle drove by, and then I'd run back and start performing again. And yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
So that
so
that was
cool.
my little time for me when I was practicing was when I actually got to kind of get into my zone.
Oh, see, I used to do similar things in my basement. I would line my Barbies all up and they would be the audience and I would sing to them. And yeah.
Even as a kid, I didn't want my family to hear me. I had this thing where like it had to be a surprise when you heard me sing. So like,
Really?
yeah, so my dad couldn't hear me sing, my mom couldn't hear me sing, my brother couldn't hear me sing. And to this day, like when I go home and we're like all hanging out, I don't sing at all.
See,
And
I'm
it's not
kind
that
of the
they don't
opposite.
yeah, it's not that they don't ask me to, but it's never even brought up. I'm Tim, I'm not the singer when I'm at home. So it's kind of nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have a different take on that. See, I don't like when people hear me practicing. I'm not really down with that. Like I get embarrassed if I don't hit the right note, and I feel like I'm being judged, right?
Yep.
So when I'm on the stage, I got to figure it out at that point. But I mean, the practice part, no, I'm so afraid of being judged. But I have a very hard time singing in front of small groups of people. Like if a group of friends like was hanging out at a party or whatever, they're like, hey, sing something. Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't like the close proximity. I don't like the familiarity of that they're my friends. I mean, they're my friends. They should be the people that are encouraging me the most, but I'm just so nervous about that. But I'll stand in front of 1,000 people and sing to them. That's no problem. No big deal.
No, I feel the exact same way. If some of my friends are sitting there and they're like, yeah, he's a country singer. Somebody's like, oh, sing for me. You know, like, well, you know, like I got songs like on YouTube if you really want to listen to it or something, or we could throw it up on the Ghetto Blaster. But yeah, very rarely am I the one that's just like, okay, nah.
Right. And like me with guitar playing, I'm not a guitar player. I never will be because I suck at it. And I'm fine with that. I don't even try to hide it. But it's gotten to the point where I do have to play for myself. And over the last couple of years, I've really had to work on being comfortable with that. So like, thank you to Dave's show for allowing me to practice that where, you know, thousands of people could be watching, no big deal. But it's very difficult for me to play guitar and sing at the same time. I just can't do it. I just cannot. So I muddle through. I managed to get the job done, but I mean, it's not like amazing in any sense. So I'm either like, it's one or the other. If you want me to be really good at singing, then I cannot play the guitar. And if you want me to play really good at guitar, then don't ask me to sing. Otherwise, you're going to get mediocre at both. So.
Yeah, and that I 100% agree on that too. If it comes up on stage and I have the opportunity, I will always take the microphone more than the microphone and the guitar.
Yeah.
Because I can do 100% at vocals, or I could do 50-50 at vocals and guitar.
Right. And so this is where it was a really bad moment for me. And it was when I knew I had to learn how to play guitar. So I was like 19 years old and the CCMAs were in St. John, New Brunswick. And I happened to be living there at the time. So, I mean, I'm like living it up, loving the CCMA thing. And we're doing this like open mic showcase thing. And it's my turn to get on stage and my guitar player is still not there. And I cannot perform without a guitar player. I think that's ridiculous. So who's next behind me to perform but Mr. Brett Kissel, before he is famous Brett Kissel.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay.
Little bitty Brett.
Little bitty Brett. So we're chatting backstage and I'm freaking out because my guitar player's not here. He's like, well, can I help you? Like, and he's like, what are the chords to your song? Is it hard? And he's like offering to learn my song before he goes on stage and performs at the CCMA. Like what the heck, right?
Right.
So at the last minute, dude that was supposed to play for me ends up showing up. But I get off the stage and I will never forget this moment. But Brett Kissel looks at me. He goes, "You were really, really good. Can I have your autograph?" WTF? Like,
yes.
So I'm like, I think I should have your autograph because like I've heard you throughout the weekend, like I know who you are. And so we exchanged autographs. I'm sure he does not have mine anymore. Probably does not remember the story at all. But
go double check that. Go double check his grandfather's barn on his live stream that he did the other day and see if you can find that little piece of paper hidden around there.
Right? No, it's definitely in my parents' basement somewhere in a book. I know it is. I know
that's incredible.
Like that. But yeah, that's my cool Brett Kissel story. But I would love to write a song with Brett Kissel. Like that would just be the coolest thing for me.
You know what? I would love to write a song with Brett Kissel. I would love to sit around a bonfire with Brett Kissel. I would literally I will learn how to drive a tractor with Brett Kissel. Like, I don't care. That gentleman is by far one of my biggest inspirations. And it's literally just the human being that he is, or that he portrays. He's just so down to earth and wholesome. And so, Christina, we've been talking about different types of music all night long. What are you listening to on your playlists?
Oh my gosh. It's such an eclectic collection of songs. I made a playlist the other day, Taylor Swift bangers, because I just love T-Swift. Like I was saying on Dave's show, I don't want to go back and listen to the old one because I don't want to give the revenue to her old label because they will get the money from that.
Yeah, fair
right?
enough. That's another.
So,
That's a
I don't
whole
want
other
to do that.
podcast.
Exactly. But that is where I think it's a huge step forward for her. She made a big stand. She's just like, it is not okay that I don't own my whole life's work. This is not okay. So I think that was probably the step that she was trying to make rather than be like, oh, look at me remaking my music. Isn't it so awesome?
No,
I don't think for her that had anything to do with making the songs better or anything, which is why I think she did them like identical to how she used to do them. It wasn't about remixing them and making them, more with the times, more radio friendly for the year 2021. Like it wasn't anything like that. It was just send the message that, hey, I'm in charge.
You can't take what's mine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that?
Is there any surprises that we can find on your playlist? Is there some certain things that, like, looking at you, people would never assume that you're listening to?
I think one of my guilty pleasures, and this is so embarrassing, I'm going to tell you anyway, because what haven't I told you already? That's probably
There's so much about you, Christina.
So much about me. So whenever I'm having a bad day, which is a lot lately, whenever I'm having a bad day, the the CD, I guess, that I love to pull out on my Spotify is S Club 7. Do you remember S Club 7? That British pop?
Ain't no party like an S Club party. Show you how. Hey, everybody getting down tonight.
Right?
I haven't heard that song since I was a kid, and it's still stuck in my head.
Right? Those songs make me so happy. Like I could be like staring at like sad unadopted animals for 12 consecutive hours and like being sad about it, and I'll put on an S Club 7 song. I'm like, hey, I'm still sad about the puppies, but S Club. So that's kind of my guilty pleasure that I would be embarrassed if anyone saw that on my playlist, but now I've told everybody listening to this podcast. So yeah, there you go.
Hey, there you go. Do you have any playlists that you have specifically set up for your music? Like, do you have like a songwriting one where you kind of listen to a song and you're like, all right, like this is, I can kind of use something from this and I can kind of use something from that? Or do you just go on basically like divine inspiration?
I listen to those like hot country, new in Nashville things because I like to try to listen for ideas. Like I always used to go with the idea that like I don't really care if the song is radio worthy. Like if it means something to me and if someone else connects with it, then I've done my job. Because I've always been more of a lyrics person rather than a melody. Like the song could have like the worst melody and like sound horrible, but if it's got words, I'm gonna put that on repeat. Like it's because it's gonna hit me right in the feels. So, but
like Whiskey Hangover.
I hope that hits someone in the feels, but it definitely hit me in the feels. It was one of my life stories. But I have a really hard time with these because I don't know if you've ever like examined those playlists, but you have to go through like 20 male artists before you get to a female artist. And it's such an inequality, and that drives me crazy that I typically will shut those playlists off. And I'm like, actually, I don't care about what's being played on the radio nowadays because it's all male artists. I mean, they're amazing male artists and great songs. So like, I need to hear more female things. Like I need to hear that. And like, love me some Miranda Lambert, like love her. She's like all over those charts right now, but her style is not who I am as an artist. So I can't really draw inspiration from her. So I'm still looking for that female artist that's going to have the song that really hits me.
I mean we've seen a little bit now that the female artists in the country aspect, like we have some pretty amazing artists like up and rising, like Tennille Arts and Tennille Towns, and we've got Marilyn Monroe and Kira Isabella. The list goes on and on. So we are starting to make some progress. Unfortunately I don't know why, but it still seems to be legs behind. And that's another reason why, if you've noticed on my podcast, I try to put as many female artists in this show as possible, because I honestly think like the females are going to end up dominating in Canadian country music here very, very shortly. I don't know why you guys aren't yet. I've opened for Tennille Arts. I've seen her perform. I've opened up for Kira Isabella, and like they are incredible musicians. And then and like Marilyn Monroe, and man, Tennille Towns, like,
She's from GP where I live.
oh,
Oh yeah, no, we love her. She's like the pride and joy of GP. Like she's
and
so incredible, and she's a wonderful human. She's not just an amazing artist. Like as a human, even if she didn't sing, people would still love her because she's just so incredible.
And then we've got Christina Rogers, and we have Susie Corey, and we have Nicole Ray, and man, I'm there's so many more out there. Like, you guys are just on fire lately, so I am all on board. Push you up to the top.
Well, I'm going to shout out some amazing Alberta indie artists right now that I think deserve a lot of love and a lot of spins, a lot of streams. Mariah Stokes, love her.
Yes,
She's
yes,
so cool.
yes.
Like so cool. Michaela Sheedy, I'm like obsessed with her because she's so real. She puts it all out there and just so amazing when she sings. Like I just want to cry when I hear her song Lost. It's like, oh, so good. And Haley Benedict,
yeah.
Like she shreds on the guitar. Like she's so talented. Yes. So shout out to those three chicks. Love them.
Absolutely. And for that aspect, please show up on the podcast. I would absolutely love if I had like 11 weeks straight of female artists. I think that's where we're going to find out a lot of information, because they are coming. I am extremely excited about that.
And I thank you for your efforts to promote us girls. Really appreciate that.
Hey,
I mean, that's why I'm so grateful for all the spins that I've gotten on radio. Like I wasn't expecting to get a whole lot because I knew that first of all, I'm an indie artist. Second of all, no one had ever heard of me before. And third, which is the biggest strike against me, I'm a female. So I didn't have very many high hopes, but I mean, I still got a lot of spins and that's pretty cool. I'm still waiting for that check to come in. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, so I'm just really grateful for all the chances that music directors took on me.
Well, I mean, with a song like Whiskey Hangover and the ones that you have, absolutely, they would definitely want to spin those songs. Christina, what are you up to next? What's your next project coming out?
Next project. So I've been working on what was going to be an EP. I've been working on it for 3 years now, and things just haven't really worked out in that sense. Just the timelines, and then COVID really threw a wrench into everything because my whole team of musicians and producers, everybody's back in New Brunswick because you know, like there was a million Albertan producers and musicians I'd love to work with, but I mean, my heart is in my home, and I want to support those amazing local artists. Like I just really want to give them all the support that I can, and I just love my team. They get me. They understand. So
were they the ones that brought out your releases previous?
No, like a million years ago, I did those songs in Nashville, and you can't find those anywhere except like in a CD in a yard sale somewhere. But I told you that story before. But,
yes, you did actually. Yeah, I remember that.
Right, the CD I made when I was 16 in someone's yard sale for $0.25. Yeah, good times. But
and then I got in a lot of crap with my Nickelback comment. I remember that. Yeah, that was rough.
We love Nickelback. We love you, Ted Kruger. We love you. We love you.
Yeah, no. There's no bad blood whatsoever.
No, but so the song that I put out before Whiskey Hangover was a song called Pretend, and that was also done by all the same people. But I started out on a very small scale because I wanted to learn. I didn't want to invest like $1 gazillion and then have it flop without knowing what I was doing. Yeah. So I started on a small scale and called in some favorites from some radio people that I knew and some advice from people that were in the industry. And put that out there just to see what it would do and learn from that experience, and then take what I learned and put it into the next one. So that ended up being Whiskey Hangover, which was initially not part of the EP. After I had put out Pretend, the feedback I got was that, production wasn't big enough on this. Like, it's a good song, but you need more production behind it. Okay, cool beans. So I felt like with what we had already started, it was going to be hard to scrap that and start all over. So I was just like, okay, I'll just write a new song, whatever. So I wrote this new song, and then that was the story with that. But I still have those other 4 that were supposed to go on the EP that we're still working on now. So we've been adding things as we go, like adding more instruments, adding more guitar, adding more background vocals, this, that, or the next thing, or rewriting a line here and there because it doesn't really work for me anymore. So things like that. So I've got 2 more that are like almost ready, just some fine little tweaks. So I would say by middle of June, you will have brand new tracks. And that is a guarantee because now I have a record label that's saying, get your butt into your head. Now I have somebody else that's in the driver's seat
Yeah.
for that. So
Now you've got somebody else kicking you in the ass for it. Yeah,
right?
that's 100%. It has been one heck of a conversation with you. I'm looking
a roller coaster today. Like, you never know what you're gonna get with me.
Hey, that's perfectly fine. I have a ton of knowledge sitting inside this podcast right now for a bunch of people. Well, Christina, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. This has been absolutely amazing. It has been literally one of the funnest times I've had sitting behind the screen right now. This has been great. You are 100%. You live up to the quirkiness that I was anticipating. Yes.
Celebrate being weird. That's what I tell all my students all the time. Like, it's okay to be weird because someday someone will love you for that.
Damn right.
It might not be today, but someday.
Someday. 100%.
So this was so much fun. Like, thank you for having me on. This was
awesome. Absolutely. And we're gonna have you on again, because once that record label gets that release from you, it's gonna be balls to the walls, girl. There's gonna be a fire underneath you, and you are going straight up. I promise you that.
That's the plan. Thank you.
So for people who haven't heard you before, Christina, where can they find your music and where can they follow you on social media?
All right. Well, I'm on every streaming platform you could possibly imagine. So you can just look me up, Christina Rogers. I would say the place that I'm most active would be my Instagram. So it's at Christina Rogers Music. You can follow me on Facebook at Christina Rogers Music. I'm not a Twitterer or a tweeter. I don't do that. The bird thing, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't do that. So too much for me. Too much. I don't do TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok. I don't understand it. So I'm not a TikToker, but Instagram and Facebook, you can find me there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Christina, for coming on today.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Hey guys, Tim Albertson here, host of the Canadian Country Music Podcast. And if you like this episode, we got plenty more. Come check us out. Just search the Canadian Country Music Podcast on all major streaming podcast platforms. And I will see you guys there. What do you think, Trace? Tracy seems excited. You should be too, guys. Take care. Mwah!